Good morning. Today, I thought I would give a little brief introduction to using commas. Commas, in my opinion, are probably the most misunderstood punctuation mark out there. We use them when we don't need them, and we don't use them when we do need them. So I thought I'd give you a few examples of when you would use them in sentences. And then I'll give you a little bit of practice on doing that. So the first example would be to use commas before conjunctions. I have this one first because this is what we've been working on the last couple of days. When you add a conjunction to join two independent clauses, sentences, okay, you're going to use a comma before you choose that word to separate them. So I went to the game is an independent clause or a sentence all by itself. My team lost is a sentence all by itself, but you wouldn't want to say them separately. So you would want to put, but my team lost. And before you use the word but, that conjunction, you're going to want to use a comma. I went to the game, but my team lost. We use commas after introductory elements. That's a fancy way of saying when I'm introducing a sentence, it's not a sentence all by itself. So after a short snooze, that's my introductory element. It's not a sentence all by itself, comma, Bob got back to work. We use commas to separate items in a series of three or more things. So the example is I bought sugar, pasta, and juice. If I'd only bought sugar and pasta, I would just put an and in between the two of them. But because I had more than two, I would separate them with commas. I would do the same thing if I were separating clauses of things that I maybe have done. For instance, I went to the gym and I lifted weights, comma, ran around the track, comma, and got on the treadmill. Those would be three separate activities in a series. I'm giving you a list of things that I did. Another way you would use commas to separate adjectives. When we did order of adjectives, if you've got more than one adjective in front of a noun, you're going to want to separate them with commas. So, for instance, a thin, handsome man. Those two adjectives describe man. Approached me after work. You'd want to separate them with a comma. Another time you use commas is to separate a city and a state. Example, Louis moved to Chicago, Illinois. A comma goes in between Chicago and Illinois. And then finally, and of course, there are more ways than just these, but these are the ones you're going to practice today. We use commas and dates between the day and the month and the day and the year. So the example is I will graduate on Monday, comma, September 12th, comma, 2020. And if this were in the middle of a sentence, I would put a comma after the year. If I was saying I will graduate on Monday, September 12th, 2020, with an honor degree, then I would put a comma behind that as well. So you've got 18 sentences. Remember to always scroll down. You'll have 18 sentences where you're going to practice using commas. Some of them only need one comma. For instance, if you're separating between two clauses, and some of them will need more than one comma if you're like separating series or you've got a date and years and cities and things like that. So give it a shot. Good luck.